For more than 25 years, Final Fantasy VIII fans have accepted one simple truth, that this lump, Ward Zabac, former soldier of the Galbadian army turned advisor to the president of Esvar, cannot speak. The reason appears straightforward enough. A serious injury to the gullet. Medical trauma. Case closed. Or is it? Today we examine a possibility that, like Ward himself, goes largely unnoticed. What if Ward recovered sufficiently from his injuries that occurred all those years ago, and is now perfectly capable of speech? But he simply refuses to talk. And if so, why so? Join me as we force ourselves down the throat of time itself. I'm Kyoto Whiskers, and I got theories. 17 years before the events of Final Fantasy VIII, Ward serves in the Galbadian military with these men, Laguna Loire and Kiros Sigil. The three men forge an inseparable bond that cannot be broken, not even when they're separated, or in bonds. Brothers in arms, as it were. But then came that one fateful day, in a land far from home, in a place they did not know nor belong. The incident with the cliff. While spying on a mysterious Esfarian excavation site on the Centra continent, Laguna, Kiros and Ward accidentally wander into a crystal maze of sorts, mostly due to Laguna's laissez-faire attitude, or general incompetence, but there is no Richard O'Brien to give them clues to make good their escape. The trio become hopelessly cornered by enemy forces atop the excavation site. They fight their way to a precipice overlooking the ocean. Then, spotting friendly Galbadian vessels below, Laguna orders Kiros and Ward to jump. But by this time, his two comrades are badly injured and cannot even walk to the cliff's edge. Ward cannot even speak. In an act of desperation, or perhaps utter cretinousness, Laguna shoves his two besties over the edge of the cliff before panicking, slipping, and falling, gravely injuring himself in the process. Laguna miraculously survives the fall and is later nursed back to health in the far-off village of Win Hill. Kiros, depicted as being lightweight, pliant, and unnaturally slippery, seemed to get away with relatively minor injuries. But for Ward, disaster. Ward, a 7-foot hulking giant of a man, plummets hundreds of feet to almost certain death. He does survive the incident, but he seemingly paid a price. The official line, an unfortunate accident resulting in life-changing injuries. The unofficial line, the last time Ward had anything to say to either of his friends. Players are told that Ward lost the ability to speak, yet remarkably, like complete and utter idiots, nobody seems to question this. Instead, everyone simply accepts his silence. Ward, for his part, never gestures to his throat. He never mouths words like, "I literally can't talk," or writes down such words for others to read. He simply refuses to engage. Is this really a medical condition? Or is it something much more familiar, like the dreaded silent treatment? The kind a partner or spouse gives you when you accidentally forget her sister's funeral. So let's consider Ward's behavior. Whenever Laguna launches into another absurd plan, Ward remains silent. When Laguna embarrasses himself, Ward is silent. When Laguna says something painfully awkward or weird, silence. Is this because he cannot interrupt? Or does he simply have nothing polite to say? The silent treatment, of course, is a conflict resolution strategy documented in relationships across the globe. Its duration typically ranges from several hours to several days, depending on the perceived infraction. It also depends on the stubbornness of the individuals in question. It's not an exact science, but as a rough guide, I would suggest stealing your partner's last Reese's peanut butter cup warrants 1 hour of silent treatment. Obnoxiously farting, then accidentally sharting yourself during your partner's eye exam of the optometrist, 3 days of silence. Getting drunk and exposing yourself at your partner's work's employee family picnic day, at least 1 week. But throwing your partner off a cliff and causing them injuries from which they may never recover? And I'm not suggesting that this trio is in some kind of quasi-freeway homosexual throuple type situation. That's never been hinted at all. But even amongst friends, is 17 years of moody silence from Ward really so childish? Critics may argue that nobody could maintain a grudge for that long. History suggests otherwise. People have stopped speaking to siblings over controversial games of Monopoly, even the junior version. Neighbours have feuded for years over the heights of their hedges. Entire families have gone to war over wedding reception seating arrangements. Against this backdrop, remaining angry after being thrown off a cliff appears remarkably reasonable, especially from a grizzled ex-soldier who could literally rip your f***ing head off, then piss down the neck hole. If Ward is choosing not to speak, then another question immediately presents itself. Why doesn't anyone simply talk to him and wait for a response? Instead, Kiros frequently steps in to explain what Ward is thinking, what Ward means, even what Ward would have said. An extraordinary claim, and a rude one, especially considering Ward is standing right there, a literal elephant in the room. And this type of power can be abused. Imagine for a moment, you attend a meeting at work or another professional setting. Someone in the group, like the president, asks your opinion on a subject. Your friend interrupts. Ward says it's fine. Ward thinks we shouldn't update the dress code. Ward agrees with me. Would you step in and object? Normally, yes. Unless you'd already committed to not speaking. In your head, you're probably thinking, of course we should update the f***ing dress code. Get me out of these damn monk robes and into something that shows off my guns. But at this point, the lie has gone on for too long, and if Ward speaks now, he's no longer Ward the strong, silent type. He's Ward the dickhead. So over time, a pattern begins to emerge. Ward remains silent. Kiros fills in the gaps. Laguna accepts Kiros' interpretation without question. And not once does anyone ask Ward directly. The implications are troubling. For years, players assumed Kiros was kindly translating on behalf of his friend. But translating and speaking for someone else are very different things, and both come with responsibilities. Perhaps Kiros genuinely believes he's helping Ward. Or perhaps after years of awkward silence, he's simply become too comfortable putting words into his friend's mouth. If so, Ward's resentment suddenly extends beyond the incident on the cliff. He isn't merely recovering from betrayal anymore. He's trapped. He's trapped in a friendship where another man has effectively become his press secretary. Until now, we have assumed that Ward's silence began at the events on the cliff, but there is one scene that complicates matters. During the Windhill flashback sequence, which takes place 6 months after the cliff incident, Ward is absent. Kiros explains to Laguna that their old friend is now working at the Galbadia prison. Nothing too suspicious there. But of course we know, as the player, that something extraordinary is happening during these flashbacks, even if we don't know why just yet. We are not merely watching Laguna's memories, we are experiencing them through Squall and his companions. Squall inhabits and somewhat becomes Laguna, and in this particular dream sequence, Irvine Kineas becomes Kiros. And Zeldinkt? Well, Zell becomes Ward. It isn't observed on screen, but from within Ward's perspective, Zell makes a curious observation. Ward misses fighting alongside Laguna. He's unhappy. He wishes he could rejoin his friends. An oddly specific emotional insight, which raises an uncomfortable question. How exactly does Zell know that? The game never establishes that Skull's group can read the private thoughts of the people they're inhabiting. Indeed, if they could, many of FF8's plot twists would become significantly shorter. So where does this information come from? There appear to be only three possible explanations. Firstly, Ward told somebody. Secondly, Zell has unexpectedly developed telepathic abilities. Or thirdly, Ward is mute, but still very much capable of communicating his feelings, just not to his friends. Notice too the nature of Ward's complaint. He doesn't express concern for his injury. He doesn't lament losing his voice. He doesn't wonder whether he'll ever speak again. Instead, he's annoyed. Annoyed that he's been posted somewhere else. He does want to fight beside his friends, until, of course, Laguna threw him off a cliff. One might reasonably conclude that this was the moment Ward reconsidered their friendship. Perhaps he simply woke up in the hospital after, remembered the cliff, and thought to himself, "No, not today. Laguna can start this conversation." 17 years on, Laguna still hasn't. Until now, our investigation has relied upon inference, observation, behavioral analysis. But there is one individual who occupies a unique position, someone with unprecedented access to the past. Alone. A young woman who has come to regard these people, particularly Laguna, as family. And unlike most other people in the world of FF8, Alone does not merely remember history, she experiences it through her unique extraordinary abilities. She repeatedly sends consciousness back into Laguna's memories. She has seen these events unfold time and time again. If anyone knows whether Ward has truly lost his voice, it is Alone. And yet, she never comments. Not once. To believe as in the conventional explanation, this silence proves nothing. But to the more open-minded researcher, it may point to something rather different, yet equally the same. Alone knows. She simply isn't telling us. The question is, why? Let us consider Alone's relationship with Laguna. She adores him. Her biological parents were brutally murdered in the village of Windhill when she was just an infant. She was then placed in the care of her next-door neighbour, a publican named Rain, and it's during this time that she comes to know Laguna, or Uncle Laguna as she calls him, who's recovering from his own injuries in the village at the time. The two of them bond quickly. She understands his optimism, appreciates his kindness, and is endlessly amused by his tomfoolery. She's also aware of his astonishing ability to survive situations that should, by all reasonable standards, be fatal. But then, of course, if she knows all of this, then she also knows exactly what happened on that cliff. Could it be that Alone realized the truth years ago, that Ward wasn't mute at all, just monumentally pissed off? And finding the situation hilarious, decided never to interfere. Imagine how the conversation might have played out. "Uncle Laguna, Ward can actually speak." "Really? Why hasn't he said anything?" "He's still upset about the cliff." "The one from 17 years ago?" "Yes." "Should I apologize to him?" "No. At this point, I think it's funnier if you don't." Some secrets shape nations. Others shape friendships. If our theory is correct, then for nearly 2 decades, everyone has unknowingly, or somewhat knowingly, participated in an elaborate act of passive aggression. Laguna believes Ward cannot speak. Kiros believes he is helping. Players believe they've witnessed a tragic injury. Only Alone knows that Ward could end the misunderstanding at any moment. He simply chooses not to. And perhaps she finds that quietly amusing. It's also the ultimate irony. The young woman upon whom so much of the main story is built, the girl who wants so desperately to change the past, finally has the opportunity to fix something. But doesn't. Because, well, it's a laugh, isn't it? Before the events of Final Fantasy VIII had even begun, Ward had endured being thrown off a cliff, having his career interrupted, being labelled permanently mute, and watching one of his closest friends confidently explain his inner thoughts for 17 long years. Viewed in this context, remaining silent no longer seems mysterious to me. In fact, it seems remarkably restrained. Eventually, Ward reunites with Laguna, but notice carefully. No emotional speeches, no heartfelt forgiveness, no acknowledgement whatsoever, no words. He simply carries on. Many interpret this as evidence that he cannot speak, but anyone who has ever had an argument with a close friend, a really bad one, will recognize another possibility. Ward has rehearsed everything he wants to say in his mind, but has then decided that saying absolutely nothing would hurt far more. One is left to wonder whether Ward's first words, should they ever arrive, might simply be, "Laguna, Kyros, shut the up." I'm Kyoto Whiskers, and that's my theory. What's yours? Goodbye.